was to exercise, that's probably not a really good plan. Hey, I'm Dr. Eric Aiken. In this live presentation, I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about strategies that actually work for weight loss and what really doesn't. But exercise is something that everybody gets in their head when they think, you know what, I really want to turn my franchise around here and start shaping up a bit. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't exercise. There's plenty of benefit from exercise. Exercise is like miracle grow for your brain. It helps you to think better and it helps preserve your muscle mass, but it's not that effective. And this has sort of been borne out in studies. It's not that effective in helping you to lose weight if that's your main goal. And one of the main reasons for this is because what actually helps you to lose weight, when you want to know what that is, you got to focus on what got you overweight in the first place. And you might think, well, obviously I ate too much. Yeah. But why did you start eating so excessively? What made you so much more hungry over time that, you really couldn't stop? And every meal tended to end with you, feeling stuffed and then being hungry again, just maybe less than a couple hours later. What made you able to push through eating some kind of dessert after dinner and you already feel stuffed? These aren't uncommon experiences. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about that. Because the reason I feel compelled to do this is because many people are trying to fight that one thing that they know is destroying their ability to lose weight, which is their hunger. And there's a very popular option now, the GLP-1 medications. You have Ozempic and tirzepatide and Mounjaro, and the companies that make them are certainly making a lot of money selling them to you. But if you are looking at the outcomes over time, and let's just say we compared them to phentermine, which was an appetite suppressant as well. That's the main goal of phentermine. Well, we're not seeing a whole lot more advantage over them. They've come up with a few uses for these medicines that you can't use for phentermine for, particularly drug addiction seems to be improved. Your odds of getting out of a drug addiction is improved with the GLP-1s. But here's the thing with that is if you're injecting the GLP-1, it will suppress your appetite so much that you'll begin to lose lean body mass along with the fat. And if your plan was to do this because you didn't want to exercise, well, actually, if you go on a GLP-1 medication, your need to exercise actually went up. You need to exercise even more if you go on a GLP-1. And I'm not talking about cardio, I'm talking about weightlifting. And I'm not talking about a little bit of weightlifting. I mean, like, 3 to 4 full workouts where you're really kind of working the muscle group thoroughly during that workout, or 5 or 6 short burst, high intensity workouts a week. Because what's happening is when your appetite is shut down that much, and just to give you an idea how much it shuts your appetite down, the GLP-1 hormone will slow your intestinal movements. And so if you and I were to have lunch, then about 4 to 6 hours later, our stomachs are empty, we're good. But if you're on Ozempic and we have lunch, well, that food may very well be there after 24 hours. That's a lot of slowing of the intestinal movement. And that it also works at a brain level to suppress your appetite. And so when you drastically cut the calories down, then your muscle starts paying the price. You start mobilizing muscle tissue in order to burn as energy. So the estimates are up to 40% of the weight that you're losing during being on a GLP-1 is lean muscle mass. Or I'm sorry, it's lean mass. So that could be muscle and bone, which is even worse if you're especially a female over the age of 40, you're already prone to osteoporosis. And so if you start losing bone mass with this medication, that's a problem. But how much muscle you have is tied to how long you live. That's a very clear indication of that. Plus, if you lose muscle, you start getting physically weaker. And a lot of people do complain that they felt weaker while on the GLP-1 medicines. But the big reason is your ability to be metabolically flexible. And what do I mean by that? I mean your ability to switch from burning your own body's stored fat to burning whatever new calories you bring into your body from having a meal. That flexibility is very important to keep you lean. And if you lose muscle, you lose that flexibility because most of those new calories that come in are handled by muscle. And when you lose the muscle, you don't have as much tissue to burn up those calories you took in during a meal. So you are in effect going to worsen your metabolic flexibility. And if you come off that drug and now your hunger comes screaming back because you were suppressing the hunger so much more strongly than you did when you were not on it, well, then you got a big problem. It's a setup. The other thing that happens on GLP-1 medicines is that your fat cells multiply while you're on the GLP-1s. So even though the fat cells don't contain as much because you're not taking in the calories, if you come off the medicine, now you've got more fat cells to pack fat into. So you have an unbridled hunger, you have more fat cells to pack in the fat, and you have less metabolic flexibility. So it's harder for you to switch into fat burning mode after a meal. And the estimates are for people who are non-diabetic, were not a diabetic going on to a GLP-1 medicine like Ozempic, 85% of them will discontinue the medicine within 2 years. So that's a lot of people that we are now converting into less metabolically flexible, thinned out bones and weaker muscles over time. That's a problem. It's going to be a bigger problem as time goes by. And not to mention the minor inconveniences that you see where, I mentioned that this slows down how fast food goes through your system. Well, if food sits in your gastrointestinal system for 12, 16, 24 hours, well, it begins to become rancid. Gas will form because the bacteria in your gut starts metabolizing that food. And it makes, you will have burps that smell like they should be coming out of the other end of you. The burps will. They call them Ozempic burps. And that, it's just an overall unpleasant experience. Now, I've talked about the downsides to this. I do think that Ozempic, the GLP-1 medicines, have their utility. I just don't think it's in routine weight loss for the average person. And I understand how frustrating that can be to hear that. A lot of people do not like it when I say this. They get mad because they've suffered, they've struggled, and I was right there with you. So I want to make that clear. I know how that feels, and I'm not poo-pooing this thing that maybe has been seemingly a lifesaver for you. But what I want to do is open up your mind to some things that might be a better option for you. In my mind, having looked at this now for a while, I feel like GLP-1 medicines should be only used for those people who have type 2 diabetes, and not all of the people who have type 2 diabetes, but the ones that they have multiple comorbidities. If they can't get ahead of their diet in the near future, they are going to have a serious health event happen within the next 6 to 12 months. And it's time to do something drastic. It should be the move that you make right before you get like a gastroplasty, some type of lap band procedure or something. It should not be the first line treatment or the second or third. And that's kind of how it's being used. And it's kind of concerning to me. So, and I don't think that I'm being dramatic about it. I think that this is being prudent about it. So I want to go back to exercise for a second. If you are someone who is on a GLP-1, I strongly encourage you to establish a regular resistance exercise routine. Without it, you are doing yourself an incredible disservice. And there's a few things, a few resources. If the idea of exercising seems really like a drag and you don't want to do it, I get it. But there's some resources out there that can help you to ease into that. I want to show you one of them right here. That's a presentation I got here. This book right here. It's called No Sweat. The author of this, Seeger is her name, Michelle Seeger. And this book is about how to sort of establish the exercise routine without it being miserable to you. And I think that she's got a good practice at doing this. She's very good at getting her clients into a regular exercise routine. And like I say, it's going to be more important for you than ever to start exercising if you're on a GLP-1, and not cardio, but specifically resistance exercise, lifting the weights, challenging your muscles so that you hang on to that. Otherwise, if you start losing that muscle mass, you're shortening your life expectancy, you're weakening your muscles, you're opening yourself up to potential injury, especially if you're an older person. If you got weaker muscles, you're more prone to falls. If you have thinner bones, you're more prone to fractures. It's an issue. There's another book. Okay, so there was No Sweat by Dr. Seeger, and oh yeah, Better Next Year. This is another book that for some people, they like to hear the logic behind why to exercise. That kind of helps to give them a why to do it. This book here, or Younger Next Year is what it was called. And the two authors, one of them is a doctor. The other one is he's a journalist. And between the two of them, I thought they put together a really good book here. It's a nice blend of a layman's perspective and also of a physician's perspective. They kind of explain like things like the interleukins, for example. There are these peptides, these chemicals in your body that are made whenever you exercise. And one of them is interleukin 10. If you could bottle it up, it would be like the fountain of youth. But it only comes out in short bursts whenever you do high intensity exercise. But it absolutely seems to preserve your body. And it also helps to shut down other peptides that come out that are inflammatory. So another good book for you to read if you're trying to establish exercise, I strongly recommend you would read this, and No Sweat by Seeger if you're on a GLP-1. So how would you do it? How would you lose the weight if you know you can't seem to beat the hunger, and you know the hunger is the main driving force of why you are overweight? What can you do? I mean, you know the rules. You know what people advise you to do. Stop eating so much sugar. Maybe adopt some intermittent fasting. And that seems like, yeah, it's very logical, obviously, but you just can't do it. And that's where I was a few years ago. Let me see if I can share my screen on this presentation that I have here. And I'm not even sure how I can get to the part that I want. I had a before and after picture. I don't have it in this. Okay, so never mind. I'm not going to go into that. But there was a time when I was suffering. I was overweight. I was hungry all the time. If there was anything sugary around, I was on that. And I was the guy at the Christmas party who had to pretend that he was rediscovering the cookies every 15, 20 minutes so that I didn't look like a slob and just standing there eating the cookies like just somebody that was out of control. So, and my father had the very same problem. He was death by sugar. He was a general surgeon, but he really had a thing for sweets. And we lived really close to a Little Debbie plant facility. You could get 5 boxes of them for like $2 or $3. And there was no middleman price attached to it. So we always had Little Debbie's all in the house. And eventually my dad developed type 2 diabetes. He got significant heart disease from it. He had high blood pressure. He then got the neuropathy and a cardiomyopathy. And then he, got in serious trouble from it. The last 10, 11 years of his life were miserable. It's just not the way you want to go out. So I knew I didn't want to take that route, but I felt kind of defenseless to doing anything about it. I had a plan though. Someone came and approached me. I was trying to exercise my way out of it. I wasn't having any luck. I wasn't losing any weight. I was still really hungry. And then someone approached me about a natural system. And this system, similar to the GLP-1 medicines, it will raise your body's GLP-1 naturally. rather than you injecting a molecule that mimics GLP-1 and is 2,500 times stronger than your GLP-1s, which that causes a set of problems of its own. This one just gives you a bump in your GLP-1 when you need it. So if you wanted to intermittent fast, for example, you want to stop eating after 8 o'clock, they have this tea right here. This is it. This is what I've been using for the last 3 years. And you just sip this and it will raise your GLP-1 up and it suppresses the hunger so that you can stop thinking about food and go on to bed. They have a decaffeinated version of it for nighttime and they have a caffeinated version for the morning. So in the morning when you get up, that little grumble in your tummy that you feel, that is ghrelin. That's a peptide that turns your brain on and tells you you're hungry. So you can just sip on this in the morning and it settles down that ghrelin signal, tells your brain you're okay. You don't have to eat right now. That gives your body a break from insulin because it's insulin that is really driving all of these problems. Type 2 diabetes, insulin is the problem. And that's kind of ironic because insulin is what we use to treat type 2 diabetics. And so you're not really helping them that much. The first thing that happens to any type 2 diabetic that eventually has to go on to insulin is they're going to gain about 5 to 10 pounds because you can't burn fat when you have high insulin levels. But if you can get your insulin levels down, then your body can begin to let go of fat. It's the natural progression. If your insulin levels are constantly high, which is what ends up happening to people over time, especially if you eat a lot of sugar and refined carbs, then you absolutely cannot let go of fat. You'll notice you do the exercise. Maybe you even try to, cut back on how much you're eating, but you don't seem to be burning that much fat off. Well, it's because the insulin levels are still high. So that's where the intermittent fasting comes in, because if you're not eating, then you don't have a reason to have a surge in your insulin. It gives your cells in your body a break, a chance to get sensitive to the insulin again. And eventually you start to see those insulin levels come down. Also, if you, at least for a little while, you don't have to do this part forever, but if for the first couple of months, you restrict the amount of carbohydrates, the total load of carbohydrate that you eat, just for a couple of months, long enough to get those insulin levels back down. And then when you start bringing the carbohydrates back into your diet, you make them complex carbohydrates, not simple carbs, not things made out of flour or sugar. Those are simple carbs. They're rapidly digested. They send your insulin through the roof quickly. Instead, you're eating things like beans and the legumes, the whole grains, ancient grains, sweet potatoes, or things that have a low glycemic load. They don't contain a lot of sugar, like carrots. Carrots have a low load of carbohydrate, but it will still kind of satisfy that carbohydrate need. If you start eating strategically like that, then you can bring the insulin down. You can get the hunger signals down. You'll start to look like you want to. Your energy levels will go up. Your brain will start to function better. Everything just gets better. The blood pressure comes down. Your cholesterol panel will improve because your cholesterol, the way it looks, is largely driven by how much sugar and carbohydrates that you're eating, not by how much fat or cholesterol you're eating. In fact, that was the big debate back in the 70s. They kept saying, they wanted to push this, food pyramid. And when they were saying, let's cut the fat out of the diet, all the researchers of the time said, look, we can't really see that changing how much cholesterol you eat makes any difference in how much cholesterol is in your blood. It seems to be irrelevant. But when you eat more sugar and refined carbs, then your cholesterol starts getting really bad. So that's it. So if you ever wanted to try something that is, in my opinion, a much safer approach, one that is going to be more sustainable, that won't sacrifice your muscle and bone and lean mass, it will maintain your metabolic flexibility, and you can avoid all of the potential side effects of the semaglutide medications. For example, thyroid cancer is one of the potential risks. Admittedly, it's not a common complication, and the type of cancer that people get with those medicine with Ozempic is not a particularly virulent one. It's one that you can beat potentially, but it's still cancer. Who wants cancer? Another potential complication of those medicines is pancreatitis. And a lot of people don't really even know what that means. Well, any itis means inflammation. So pancreatitis is inflammation of the pancreas. That disease is actually an extremely dangerous one. It's a potentially life-threatening complication. And my father was a general surgeon. He dealt with a lot of patients with pancreatitis. It was always a situation that you had to ride close to that patient to make sure that they made it through okay, because pancreatitis can get away from you. The mortality, the potential death rate from pancreatitis is up to 50% if you get it. Another complication is what they call the Slimmer's paralysis. Slimmer's paralysis. People are getting foot drop. It paralyzes their ability to raise their foot up. And it's due to rapid weight loss on the GLP-1 medications. And it can happen to anybody that loses weight rapidly. Like, for example, people who are just put into starvation situations, prisoners of war, and that sort of thing. But, it's a pretty significant thing. If you have a paralysis of your foot, that can lead to falls, that can lead to broken bones. You don't need that to happen. You'd like to lose weight at a safe and healthy pace and avoid Slimmer's paralysis. And the list goes on, but these aren't minor complications. These are potentially major ones. Blindness is another one. No matter how much they want to deny it, there were people getting a unique form of blindness that was associated with the GLP-1 medications. So blindness, paralysis, pancreatitis, thyroid cancer. This is not a light list here. So, wouldn't you rather do something that could be quite effective and still avoid all of those complications? I'm going to show you something. This was introduced to me a year ago. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Yeah. Let me cancel this one out. I'm going to cancel this one, delete, and then add this and screen share. I'm sure my device can handle it. Add the screen share, and it's going to be this. All right. Now, let me change the format if I can, because you're not going to be able to see this otherwise. Nope. Okay. Well, something's happening to the screen and I can't get it to go. Well, let me see if I can show you this anyway. Let's go to here. This is something that, and I'll put it down here so that you can see this. It's called the Feel Great system. And for whatever reason, I cannot seem to change this format of this. Okay, I'm back. I can't change it. I don't know why. Technical difficulties. Too bad. Maybe I can do this. Here we go. Screen share. Yeah, here we go. I'll stay right here and maybe it's going to, nope. No. Oh, wait. Last bit. Nope. Well, this thing just totally is going to sandbag me right in the middle of this presentation. Well, that said, this is the Feel Great system. This is something that was introduced to me 3 years ago, and I've been using it every day ever since. And it's a two-part system. It's very simple to use. You just mix it in water and you drink it, and that's it. And the way that I use this in the mornings, I stop eating at 8 o'clock, and then I will get up in the morning. I skip the breakfast. So right there, I've saved myself quite a bit of money. And I see something here that I need to probably stop. Google.com. Yeah, let's get that off there. And here's another one, Google.com. And hey, I'm starting to win. All right. Okay. I figured it out. Now I can do this. Here we go. Now I'm going to be able to show you this finally. Media, add the source, and screen share, and there, share. Okay, now I can change the format where you can actually see this. All right. So this bit right here, let me go into a slideshow version of this where you can actually see this. Okay. The thing on the left, the Unamate, that is a tea, an extract from yerba mate, a tea from South America. You will drink this in the morning before breakfast. And what it does is just raises your GLP-1 up a bit, about 60%, enough to stop those hunger pangs in the morning. So you can just skip breakfast without having to white knuckle it to lunchtime. At lunchtime, you're going to drink this one. This one's called Balance. Again, you mix it in the same bottle. It comes with a bottle like this. There's a line for each one. And you just mix it in the bottle, shake it up, drink it right before you have your lunch. Drink the whole thing. It's about 1.25 cups of fluid mixed with this fiber supplement is what it is. Now, the magic to this fiber supplement, you might be like, well, I mean, I could just take Metamucil. You could, but it wouldn't even have close to the effect of this. There's a reason why. If you take Metamucil and you put it in a glass of water, you mix it up, and you come back the next day, it still looks like water, basically. But if you take this and you mix this up in water, within about 5 minutes, it starts to thicken and sort of expand. And you don't want to wait 5 minutes to drink that. In fact, I dilute it a little bit extra and I drink it immediately while it's still watery, because it's going to turn into this gel. And whatever you eat immediately after this is going to coat, and it's going to turn it into a time-release capsule so that it slowly is metabolized, slowly released into your bloodstream. It lowers blood sugar spike by 43%. And it will keep your insulin levels low. And because it's sort of expanding into a gel, it mechanically pushes on the walls of your stomach and your intestines, which sends a signal back to your stomach that you're satisfied, you're not hungry. And it will start to improve the gut health so that the inflammation levels go down. All of your immune system is very finely tuned with your gut. The reason that the leaky gut is a problem is it ramps up your immune system. And then that's why joint pain is so much more common in people who have insulin resistance and poor gut health. So you'll start noticing like aches and pains are not there so much. That painful joint in the shoulder, the painful joint in the ankle and the fingers, the knees sort of drops down a few notches. And in my case, it disappeared altogether. I started getting joint pain in my fingers. It was making me nervous. I make my living with my hands. And so that's all there is to it. You drink 2 of the teas a day to control the hunger, and you drink 1 of the fiber supplement before your biggest meal of the day. And that's it. Rinse and repeat. In the meantime, you start leveraging a more sensible diet, the complex carbs, protein emphasis, and let go of the sugar, let go of the refined carbohydrates, the processed carbs, the mac and cheese, the bread, the muffins, all that goes away for a while. You can bring them back in moderation later, but for now, you want control. You want to reverse the insulin resistance, and you want to give your cells a break from insulin. You do that for a couple of months. At that point, you'll start to see the weight loss kicking in. Sometimes those of you who may be in the perimenopausal time frame, you may have to wait for it a little bit longer, but this isn't a drug. You got to keep in mind, this isn't a pharmaceutical slamming down your your hunger 2,500 times like these pharmaceutical drugs are. It is a true metabolic reset. It's the healthy way to do it. So you just wait a few extra weeks, but then it starts to happen. And when it happens, it's inevitable. I mean, you can be assured you're not losing muscle, you're not losing bone, you're not increasing your risk for thyroid cancer or pancreatitis or Ozempic burps or just plain old looking old in the face. And you're going to feel a lot better. And then if you happen to just add some exercise into the mix, now you're hitting on all cylinders. When people, I'm going to put a link here. If you want to try this, you can just screenshot this right here. And then when you screenshot it, hold your thumb down over that QR code over that image, and then it'll take you to the site. But you could try this for 90 days, a quarter of a year, and see what happens. If you're not satisfied, you can get your money back. We have an app that you can use alongside of this. All you're doing is logging the time that you eat with that app, and you log the time, whether you drank the stuff or not. That's all they ask for you to do. You can do that for 3 months, and if you're not satisfied, you can get all your money back. Nobody ever does, though. Most of the people that start getting into this, it's a pretty reliable result. You'll see if you're carrying excess weight, you'll lose the excess weight. If you're not carrying excess weight, you're not going to lose weight. You'll just maintain your weight. You're not going to lose muscle or any of the other stuff. But if you happen to be a type 2 diabetic, you're going to see the hemoglobin A1C come down. You'll see your blood sugars improve. I want to show you a few people, if I can, a few stories behind this. Oh, I hope I've got these pictures, because these people, it's just amazing. Here, I'm just going to go to the website that this leads to. Boom. Here we go. Here's this. This is where this is going to take you. This is James. James lost 100 pounds. This was a friend of mine. In fact, I think his mother was one of my patients. James was one of those guys, was in the corporate setting. He worked for a meat processing plant, kind of like Tyson, but it wasn't Tyson. And the corporate culture there was, let's eat indiscriminately. Let's get drunk on the weekends. And, let's just be barbarians. And he was living that. And in fact, you'd kind of get ostracized in that work culture if you didn't follow along. Well, James went on this protocol, and before he knew it, he realized he had control over the cravings. He could begin to select what he was eating and take a better path. The weight started coming off, and he eventually just exited that job. He's now started his own business. Now that he's got more energy and can think clearly, we're doing consultant work, and he's starting a business of his own. He's a Christian business consultant. Here's another person. Here's Jesus and his wife. Now, this picture is actually old now. Jesus, look at this. He was more than 100 pounds overweight. He was morbidly obese. Jesus was in the similar situation as James. He's actually a friend of James. Jesus goes on this at the recommendation of James. And he, in fact, last night he was on a call with us, and he said, I saw James looking a whole lot different. He was posting these images of himself on social media, and he said to himself, that looks really hard, what he's doing. I don't think I want to do that. And it's probably hard. He had no idea how easy this was. And he was talking about how he wished the first time he saw it, he should have asked what he was doing and just gone ahead and got on the system. So Jesus and his wife both got on the system. He got on it first. He started immediately seeing results. The appetite was controlled. His energy levels coming up. So she got on it. And now they look even better than they do here in this picture now. This picture is probably 5 or 6 months old now. I've got other ones. Let me see if I got another one. I want to show you another one. Let's see. I'm going to change this. There's a guy let me back out of this, that was from Mississippi. And he, here he is. Aha, I'll bring this up. This gentleman was from Mississippi. And let me go into present view so that I can find it. And hang on, let me go into presenter view. Let me put this down. Hello, come on. And he was on 24 medicines. 24 medicines. And I wanted to know, what was the conversation? Here we go. Here he is. Let me show you this. I'm always just baffled. Okay. Here now. James, Mississippi. Let me change the stop sharing there, and now I can show you him. He was on 24 medicines, and for blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, you name it. And I wanted to be a fly on the wall when his doctor was talking to him at the time he was on 23 medicines. And the doctor's saying, look, James, I know that you're on 23 medicines, but you need one more. I mean, how many is it going to take to keep this guy going? So he gets on the Feel Great system. A year later, he's lost almost 120 pounds. He was a quarter of a ton before. Now he's dropping the weight at a safe pace, and now only on 3 medicines, soon to be none. Here's another one. Let me see if I can go on to this. This is Joanne. She was a exerciser, actually, but she said that she had put on this inner tube around her waist. That's her words, not mine. And she just couldn't seem to get rid of it, even though she was exercising. This is what I'm talking about. Exercising isn't a great plan for weight loss. After 6 months on this system, she's at her ideal body weight. It just helps with that, the strategic control of the appetite, but without slam dunking your hunger so hard like these injection medications. Here's Jackie from New York, lost 104 pounds. Look at the difference there. Look at the puff around her eyes there, and then suddenly the vibrance in her face afterward. Down 104 pounds, improved her neuropathy and joint pain. Rather than giving you Slimmer's paralysis, this makes your nerves better. Okay. Look, these are just a few, a handful. I have, over these last 3 years, literally seen hundreds, I'm not exaggerating, hundreds of health transformations on this system. And it's not just happening here in the United States. This is happening all over the world. This system is being distributed in 55 plus countries at this point. And so I strongly encourage you, give it a try. You've really got nothing to lose and everything to gain. Just screenshot your screen right now. Hold your thumb down over that QR code. It'll take you to the website. You can learn a little more and you can order it through that. And then I will be in touch with you. When I see your name come across my screen, I'm going to text you. Now, if you don't want my input, that's fine. Just say, I'm good. But if you do, what I'll do is, I'll text you when I see your order come through. You tell me, you text me back the day that you receive your first pack. We're going to go over the best and highest use of this product together. And then I'll check in on you. I'll give you, individualized, tailored support for anything that you need while you're on the system. And that's going to be it until you get the results that you're looking for. I genuinely want you to get the results you want. You don't have to buy this from me. I don't care if you don't. You can try it. You can go au naturel completely. But if you have been struggling and this is something that you really couldn't get ahead of before, this is a strong option for you that I think would help you in the long run. All right, guys, I'm going to end this live call and I will see you the next time.